All right, now I can share my screen. Okay, share this screen, PowerPoint. Perfect. Well, hello and welcome, folks, to another Tuesday night of talking about credit banking, velocity banking, getting out of debt strategies, and just quite frankly, understanding our personal debt situation. So, why do we talk about credit banking? Because it is the way that we are going to be able to get out of the financial rut that we're in or take our financial situation to the next level and achieve that search for that lost American dream. Now, before we get started today, both Richie and I end up talking a lot about, different finances, things like that. But in this general setting, we're not going to be practicing any licensing attorneys, accountants, financial advisor, broker, any licensed individuals on this webinar. Therefore, we always ask that you engage those professional services and seek that help that you need to make sure that these strategies work for your specific situation. And we'll talk about that today, how to actually get help doing this. Okay, you can always reach out to us, wiseguysandties.com, or actually give us a call, 888-524-9273. And the brand new training website, Level Up in Real Life, where you can get in there and see which level you're at, if you need to start with credit repair, or if you're ready to dive into implementing the credit banking strategy. This is a whole lot of videos that are put together that will help walk you through evaluating your situation and seeing where you need to go. All right. So what does it take to do credit banking, velocity banking? Well, we need a couple different things here. First, you got to think about credit banking is a mindset. See, as I was really raised by my parents, who were raised by their parents, who were raised by their parents, and they picked up different beliefs along the way, they passed those off to me. And I went into the workforce. And so I thought that there wasn't enough pie to go around, talking about pie, Thanksgiving. Hopefully everybody had a happy Thanksgiving. As an employee and as employees, we use our cash as a currency. So have you ever felt like there wasn't enough money to go around? Because of that, because of this thought that maybe somebody else is taking a piece of that pie, in using our cash basis mentality, we think about money as being scarce, as a scarce resource. But I'll tell you, there's more money than you could possibly understand on the face of this earth. There's so much. There's no shortage of money. So the wealthy folks, they understand this. They use leverage as a currency, and they use their cash to accelerate and grow their wealth, creating that abundance mentality that there's more than enough. And once you realize that there's more than enough out there, then you just have to figure out where it's at and then go get it. So what do you need to get started? There's three things. If you've been on here before, go ahead and throw something in the chat if you know what one of these things are. To implement the velocity banking strategy, to implement credit banking, what do you need? Do you need rope? What do you need? So let's see here. We got a couple folks in the chat box. Oh, I don't believe I can see the chat when I'm live streaming, but we can solve that problem right now. Let's get the chat box. Perfect. Yes. Okay. So debt, that is a big one. We definitely need debt. Absolutely. We definitely need cash flow. And yes, a line of credit. Very good, everybody. All right. Now, what is the lost American dream? We've talked about it before, but maybe you're new to this channel and maybe you saw either a training from myself or Richie or Joseph, and then you're wondering, hey, I want to find out more about how to implement these strategies. I'll tell you, just like Indiana Jones and Raiders of the Lost Ark, was searching for that treasure. And the lost American dream is financial freedom. It seems that we get wrapped up in these 30-day cycles, and we start to look at can we afford the monthly payment? That's really the way that we function. We start to function by months. Like, well, let's see, this month I got the mortgage, I got the car payment, I got this, we got all the payments, and then it restarts next month. And sometimes, unfortunately, more often than not, we run out of money before we run out of month. And at any given time, you can run into a tough situation. Whether you're in a good situation now, or you've had some struggles with everything that happened this year. Um, Implementing these strategies, like we heard last week, can really help you weather storms and be able to leverage yourself through difficult times so you can get back on your feet. Let's talk about retirement first before we get really into the nitty gritty of credit. Have you thought about where you're at today, how many years you want to retire for, and how much in the funds that you're going to need? If you take a look at the screen here, this is really a pretty recent, up to date. They have the census that was coming out this year, and they have tracked income levels, they've tracked cost of living, and of course, it's going to be higher in New York and California than it is going to be like, say, Idaho or someplace in the Midwest. The pricing depends if you're in a suburb or if you're in the city, really. But what it really comes down to is a ballpark of where you want to be. So if you want to retire for 20 years and you would like $5,000 a month, at the time that you retire, you're going to need, in a standard retirement account, 1.7 million. If you're not on track to do that, we'll talk about other avenues and ways to accelerate that or to build your cash flow, because when we talk about implementing credit banking strategies and taking care of what you need to so you can live without that burden, a lot of it comes down to cash flow. I would say that cash flow is pretty much one of the most important aspects of this, because if you don't have the positive cash flow, or if you want to live a certain lifestyle, you're going to need to increase that cash flow. Right now, there's a lot of folks who maybe have negative cash flow. Maybe they're just breaking even, or maybe you have a surplus. Wherever you're at, the only way to build your retirement is with that surplus. The only way to accelerate debt pay down is with that surplus. And so you really need that surplus of cash flow in order to implement the strategy effectively. Here, let's go to the next page. And financial freedom happens. This is kind of what we're talking about right now. Financial freedom is when your passive income equals your monthly expenses. So monthly expenses, it's important to understand, budget, and see where you're at. You don't necessarily have to cut back, but whatever lifestyle it is that you want to live. Do you go out to eat? Do you shop on Amazon or actually go to a store? Whatever, do you have streaming, TV, whatever it is. Your monthly expenses minus your passive income equals financial freedom. So if you were to, let's say, actually, we're going to go through your freedom financial goal. Say you need $3,000. That's your goal. So how much would you need to invest to create that passive income needed to reach your financial freedom goal? Well, to calculate that, we're going to do financial freedom goal, multiply that by 12. So if you need $3,000 a month of income, and divide it by the return on investment. So wherever you're investing, if you're into stocks or precious metals or real estate, what is the return on investment? So example, 3,000 multiplied by the 12 months, then divided by a 10% return, that would equal $360,000 is what would need to be invested at a 10% return in order to yield that $3,000 a month of passive income. So you have to figure out how much expenses you have each month, And then that way you have a target to shoot for on how much passive income you want, you will need. Now, what keeps us from financial freedom? That out of control debt. It really is. It creeps up on you, and then the next thing you know, it just starts to pile up because everything was going fine, but then, oh, we had illness in the family, the tires went out, and the transmission all in the same month. These things happen. Uh, Life just popped out of nowhere and hits you with things. Everything will be going good, and then it seems to all come in threes. So we have to be prepared for when that happens. Now, where is the lost American dream? You need a map. That's what we've been putting together here. And that's why we keep coming to you each and every Tuesday evening to talk about the different aspects of this map. I learned a long time ago when I first started this journey of self-development, self-improvement, because quite honestly, I was a hot mess, I'm not gonna lie. Had lots of struggles throughout my life and found that I just didn't have the right direction, the right roadmap. So wherever you're at today, let's say that, I don't know, whatever state you're in, if you wanted to get to the next state over to the major city there, pretty much anywhere in America, you just have to hop on the freeway and signs will guide your path because somebody's already laid those roadways, they've built the maps, they've built these signs, they've done the infrastructure to be able to get you there in a vehicle very quickly. Or you could take a plane that has maps, boats. Everything now has been navigated. And so you don't have to go through the struggles that everybody else still continues to go through because there's a map. There really is to financial freedom. So it includes going through your budget, understanding lines versus loans, and also the implementation of the credit banking strategy. Tonight, we're going to touch a little bit more on the lines versus loans and understanding the credit aspect. Last week, we talked pretty in depth about it, and there's a few other things that we're going to touch base on tonight. So let's talk about it. Let's talk about credit. What is that? To get a loan or a line of credit, you're going to need to have a few things. You're going to need verifiable income. You're going to need a low debt to income ratio. You're going to need some collateral. And I mean, the collateral aspect really depends on the amount that's being borrowed. You may or may not need to do that. So what about a good credit score? I mean, is that what banks are looking for? Are they looking for a good credit score or is it a good credit profile? Well, we're going to talk about that tonight. What about good payment histories, low number of derogatories, low number of inquiries, low utilization, good mix of credit. So a good credit score is basically representing that you have good payment history, have a low number of late payments or negatives on there. You have a low number of inquiries, also low utilization. That's utilization is really how much of your credit you are utilizing. So for example, if you had a $1,000 credit card and you're carrying over to the next billing cycle $500 balance, well, that means that you have 50% of your credit utilized. Now you can balance that over all of your accounts, but utilization is a very, very big factor in your credit score. It is second to payment history. We'll dive into that a little bit more in a minute, but also a good mix of credits. There really is an ideal mix to get an optimal score in that department. But there's 5 major factors when it comes to optimizing your credit profile. Also, if you are in a situation, well, actually, before I even go there, when did you learn about credit? Did you learn about it in school? Did you learn it in high school? Everybody should understand this and everybody should learn about these, but most people didn't actually learn through the public education system on how their credit works. I was thinking about it. When I was 18, I showed up into the world and I was like, hey, I'm ready to go to work and I'm ready to be an adult, ready to try this whole thing out. And, it came time for me to pay my taxes. Wow. Okay. So this is my first time. So maybe the IRS will help me with that. No. And I was like, well, how much do I owe the IRS? And the IRS is like, well, we know how much you owe us, but you got to figure it out. And I was like, oh, wait a second. Why don't you just tell me how much I owe if you guys already know? No, you got to figure it out. And I was like, well, okay, so I might screw it up because this is my first time. I have no idea. You guys didn't teach me in school how to actually do my taxes. So, I mean, it's okay though if I screw it up and I, screw up my taxes a little bit. They're like, no, you could go to prison for that. And I'm like, wait a second. It seems like this is a pretty important thing that we should have learned about. Same with credit, because it seems like insurance rates, jobs depend on your personal credit. And that is quite an important, sorry about that. Just want to make sure that we can see the chat. Okay. All right, folks. Next page, credit score. Let's talk a little bit about your credit score. So there's different scoring models. What you see, and let me know in the chat if you're getting a feedback. Okay. Let me do this. There we go. All right. What do you see? Well, if you go to Equifax, you're going to get a certain score. Go to Experian, or you go to Credit Check Total. Their scoring model is, well, let's talk about Equifax.com. Equifax.com, their Equifax credit score model is 280 to 850. The Experian Plus score that you could find through Credit Check Total is 330 to 830. The Vantage credit score, which is used by Credit Sesame and Credit.com, that's 300 to 850. And the Trans Risk score that you would find with Credit Karma is 300 to 850. The difficult thing about credit is you never actually really know what your score is. You have a ballpark. But if you were to ask me what my score is, and even though I actually checked it today, I have no idea what my score is because I need more information. I need to know, well, where are you actually pulling that? And is that score, what is it for? And you might be thinking, well, what is it for? Well, let's talk about some other scoring models. What a lender sees. There's the credit optics score. 0, basically 1 to 99 or 999. The lender application score, which is 100 to 990. The Experian score X plus, which is 300 to 900. The national equivalency score, which is 360 to 840. You're going to get a different scoring model when you're applying for credit cards, if you're applying for a loan, vehicle financing, mortgages. There are different scoring models for different products, and different banks use different models than other banks. And so it's not necessarily that we're looking at the score, and that's why you also will not get approved based on just your score. The score is what opens up the door to lending, and it is a representation of what your profile looks like. So that's really what it comes down to. We take a look at what the differences are. The Vantage 3.0 is broken up to the biggest one, 32%, which is payment history. Next, we move into credit utilization. So that's a big chunk, but just making sure your payments are on time and you're not overusing your credits. And you may be thinking, well, overusing my credit, yes. So if you have $1,000 credit balance and you're maxed out, that's going to significantly hurt your credit. Ideally, you're going to hover somewhere around 30% or less. So if you need to use your credit, just keep in mind that you really only have 30 to 50% if you want to maintain that growth in your score. Credit balances. So the Vantage 3.0 factors in a 15% on top of the credit balances, also credit utilization. Those are very, very similar. Depth of credit, that's 13%. Recent credit, which would be inquiries, that's 10%, or new accounts that have been opened, and available credit. So the Vantage 3.0 is very heavily weighted on making sure that you are not overusing your credit or credit cards, that they have very low balances. The Vantage 3.0 model is designed so if you are not using very much your credit, you're going to have an amazing score. But if you are using a lot of it, it's going to hurt you. Now, the FICO 8, which is a very, very common scoring model. Payment history, 35%. Credit utilization, 30%. Age of accounts. So is it good to have a bunch of brand new accounts or having some old accounts? Maybe you have an old credit card and you're thinking, well, I'm not using it, I should close it. When you do that, you actually will see sometimes your score fall because you have lost that history. And mix of accounts, 10% of the mix of accounts. We talked about that there's a proper mix. Ideally, you have one mortgage, one auto loan, and 3 credit cards. That's really the ideal mix. Now, is that always going to be the case? Absolutely not. Does that mean you can't have an excellent score if you have some other things? Absolutely not. But if you're looking at optimizing the profile, that's what you'd be looking for. The differences between these two models could be the difference in getting approved or getting denied. So you don't even know which model they're going to use. Now, what is credit repair? So credit repair is the act of systematically disputing errors, inaccuracies, and unverified information that appears on your credit accounts for the purposes of having them deleted. Due to the Fair Credit Act, the credit reporting bureaus on your personal side have to follow some pretty tight timelines. And if they don't basically follow a certain procedure, and they don't, what's the easiest way to say this? If they don't do what they're supposed to do, your job is to hold them accountable. And if they're not doing what they're going to be doing, then they need to stop reporting whatever negatives are on your account. Now, I'm not saying that you shouldn't pay your old debts, but there is an aspect to old things that maybe you've already settled, but that's still hanging out there. And you're wondering, is it 7 years before this thing's ever going to go away? No, you can follow a procedure. And right now, you reach out to us. You go over to levelupinreallife.com and you can get plugged into free credit repair. Absolutely amazing, guys. When you get started, the only requirement is that you pay for monthly credit monitoring. It's like $30 a month. You have to maintain your credit monitoring while you're doing your credit repair. And since it's free, you pretty much are going to have to print out, sign, mail your own letters. They're not going to do that for you. And then there is an optional $99 audit, which will just help you understand more about your profile, but that is completely optional. So you can get plugged into that, start sending off these letters and see what happens and getting some of these items removed. Now, how long does that take? It takes time to build a good credit score. The way in which personal credit is reported and calculated does not allow for building your credit quickly. You must be patient. Now, we talk a lot about business credit. We talk a lot about personal credit. Regardless of the credit you're building a relationship. How deep are the roots in a relationship of somebody that you met last week versus a friend that you've had for several years? Credit's the same way. It takes time to grow those roots, to get down to the nutrients. It takes time. So be patient. But the important aspect is, since it does take time, you better start today if you haven't already. I was talking to a guy earlier today, and we've been talking for years and known him for years. And man, Ray, I really need to finally get on this credit thing. Like, buddy, dude, I've been telling you for years now. And now by the time you get started, get ready now so then you can use it next year. All right, folks. The next thing we're going to talk about is qualifying. Credit score is an important factor, but we also talked about, what are the items that you need to qualify? Debt income ratio. This is a very, very important topic. And let me just make sure that we are doing good. Okay, perfect. Debt to income ratio, for short, referred to as DTI. So the lender underwriting guidelines to borrow $200,000. Let's talk about that. What is the bank looking for? The important part of this is, once you understand your credit, you understand how to optimize your credit. Then moving into making sure you know if you should be approved or not. I mean, do you want to do that? How many times have you gone to a bank or applied online and you're like, pretty please, like, just throwing it out there. Hail Mary, like, let's see, hopefully I get approved. It happens. I mean, that's the way I've always applied for stuff. I didn't know that I could actually understand if I should be approved or not, but he told me that. So here, let's go. Let's talk about that. What do you need to be like? What type of situation do you need to be in to get approved for $200,000? Let's say that this is a house. This is a mortgage you're looking to get. Well, you're going to need a credit score that's greater than 700. This is just to guarantee approval. Utilization underneath 30%, and your debt to income ratio underneath 45%. These are kind of some general guidelines, and it's important to know where you're at before you even walk in there. Let's talk about this. So what you're going to see on the right-hand side here, and I might just shut my camera off for just a second so you can see this. There we go. There we go. And oh, now I can see the chat box. All right. So big shout out to Daryl, Lorraine, for getting all those questions right earlier, guys. And Raul. All right. So monthly income statement. This situation that we're looking at, the monthly salary is $6,600. And then there's a breakdown of the expenses. So we have taxes, got the mortgage, got the school loan, we got the car payment, we got the credit card payments, the retail, the lifestyle. Total expenses $5,000. So we know that, there's not much left over at the end of the month. We have, maybe $1,600, but that gets eaten up by, things that pop up throughout the month. So let's see what it looks like when we calculate the debt. So the lender's debt to income ratio is going to take your fixed expenses and divide by your gross income. So fixed expenses, we got, they're usually going to factor in like mortgage payments, student loan payments, car payments, depending on the type of credit card payments, retail payments. I know the bubble's off here, but and then your salary, your gross income before really taxes. We look at $1,600 and $6,600 for the gross income, and we put the 1,600 divided by 6,600. That gives us 24%. All right. Now, according to the DTI that they're looking for that is less than 45%, do we qualify? Good question. Well, yes, that's right. It looks like we do. It looks like we do qualify. All right, next, your living DTI, because The bank only looks at a certain amount. It doesn't actually look at what is really taking place. If the banks did, probably would not be approved most of the time. So what's important to understand is we need to factor in what our real debt to income ratio is. So we can understand not only, hey, are we going to get approved, but making the wise decision, can we afford it? So living debt to income ratio, that's going to be our fixed expenses plus other expenses. And we're going to divide that by our gross income, but minus those income taxes. The Social Security, the SUTA, FUTA, FICA, which we like to say. So that actually gives us 68%. So 68% of our funds are already being allocated to just monthly obligations. Yikes. Now that is a little bit worrisome if we're looking at, that the bank wants under 45%. Now, if we're looking at qualifying for a new loan, let's put that in there. Many times this could be adding on a rental property. I love real estate. Everybody needs to be in real estate. You're either investing in your real estate or somebody else's. Hands down, everything that has been from the Bible to today is real estate, land. You're not creating any more of it. It's the number one way to financial freedom and creating that passive income that you desire. So in this situation, somebody says, well, I'm going to get into real estate. I'm going to buy a rental property. I'm going to make a little vacation rental, do $1,200 payment. Fantastic. Bank says you qualify for it. But in reality, when you factor that into the situation, that's 92%. Have you ever heard about somebody that, they have the two properties, but then all of a sudden a tenant destroyed it, and then now they're in a world of hurt? Or they had to move, and now they got not only rent their mortgage, but then they also have rent to the new place. These things happen. It is very easy to go from everything's fine to being in a little bit of a tight situation. Then somebody will say, oh, well, rental properties, you don't want to do it. And it'll be all the woes. But it's important to understand that we have to mitigate our risk, and we have to be smart about how we do this. This is where really practicing these things, getting educated on these things, real estate, your personal wealth creation, leveling yourself up in real life. DTI is very, very important. And something that we've been doing every single Monday, and I encourage all of you guys to come and check this out every single Monday night. And you can see the recordings. It's kind of like YouTube. They have the recordings from the previous week. If you haven't ever heard of Twitch, Twitch is a place where it's a YouTube for gaming. Basically, there's people that play video games, real games, all sorts of different things. But the Twitch channel, it's Twitch TV, Level Up in Real Life. Each Monday, we play Cash Flow, the game that was created by Robert Kiyosaki, the famous author of Rich Dad, Poor Dad. He created this game. We used to play it in real life. Pretty much once every week, we were getting together. We've had rooms with 50 plus people, 6 people at a table, just stacks of these board games. I have 4. I personally own 4 of these board games because we used to sit there and, like Joseph and myself, for about a year and a half before we ever even started in business together. That's how we, 1, got to know each other. 2, how we started to learn how to put deals together. Now, if you look in the upper right hand, you guys know Richie. Richie is a very successful real estate entrepreneur out of Hawaii. And Jeanette is actually a singing coach, and she's an entrepreneur. She's been an entrepreneur for a long time. She owns a training company for that helps singers, improve their vocals. Also a real estate investor. Matt's brand new. Matt just got started. He started going through the Level Up in Real Life, and we brought him out so he could start really kind of just playing along and seeing how everything's going. Landon, he's a real estate investor out of Utah, he has a nonprofit that helps homeowners in disastrous situations. You guys know me. And then Clinton, he has a company out in Las Vegas, another nonprofit that helps folks get out of tough situations when they're facing foreclosure and helps them negotiate with the bank. So what we were dealing with last night, you can go back and see the recording, is we actually spent in this game, this was one roll and it was one turn. And it took about 25 minutes to actually get through this one turn because none of us had a lot of money, but we wanted to buy this pizza franchise. And so it came down to strategization. Okay, how can we get the money together to actually buy this pizza franchise? And the great thing about this is we just play normal real life rules. And by playing it or even watching other play it, you can start to see how we structure deals, how to put partnerships together, how to start companies, how to invest in real estate. We use HELOCs, we use credit banking strategies. It's pretty amazing. So I recommend you guys check out twitch.tv and the Level Up in Real Life channel. We're going to be live next Monday playing. We'll usually go live around 7 p.m. Pacific time, so go check it out. All right. Well, folks, let me just double check here. Where are we at? You know what? That's kind of, that might wrap us up for tonight. Let's see here. Where are we at? Give me 1 second here. Let me see. All right. Oops. Stop sharing there, but let me see where we're at. Yeah, because a lot of this we kind of went through last week. I want to share one other thing with you guys since I have everybody here. There was just a couple things that we wanted to fill in from last week. And I'm going to go ahead and share that website with everybody once again. There we go. So Level Up in Real Life is the new website that we pretty much are putting together. And we want you guys to check it out. Let us know what you think. Go through there. If you've been looking at implementing the velocity banking strategy, if you've been looking to get into credit repair, go in, check it out. There is two sides to this. There is a pay side, and then there's also the free side. If you're just looking to get in, get some training, learn how to start using some of these calculators, get your credit repair, there's absolutely no charge for that. We want you guys to get in there and get going through it. I mean, if you're like looking at wanting to learn about some advanced real estate strategies, then there's some trainings for that in there, but you'll just have to go in there to check that out. But each and every week, we're going to continue to come here. Richie got held up a little bit today, so we improvised a little bit, but next week we have a really, really exciting strategy that we want to share with you. So make sure that you guys plug this into your calendar. If you're seeing us on YouTube and this is the first time you came across us, go over to wiseguysandties.com under the events tab and you can register for the Zoom webinar. That way you get notification when Zoom goes live. I apologize for some of the confusion there with Zoom. We've had a couple of Zoom issues, but we're getting them all sorted out and everything should be nicely running. Everything from the real estate to the credit banking to the business credit, everything is now sorted out and should be functioning perfectly fine. But I also want to thank everybody who was here live with us tonight in the Zoom webinar. So we got Brian, we got Kathleen, we got Deb, we got Jimmy, we got Kenneth, we got Lorraine, we got Maylene, we got Patrick, we got Raul, and I know there was a couple other ones on there. Thank you all so much for being here tonight. I hope you found some value with us this evening. Raul says, hey, do you need an account with some credit repair company to join Level Up? Do you need an account with credit repair? No, absolutely not. Okay, so if you go over to Level Up, so Raul is asking, do we need an account with the credit repair company to join Level Up? So in there, we have a partnership with a company called Credit Nerds that basically known. I mean, when I first wanted to get into real estate, they helped me understand how to get my credit to where I needed to get into real estate 5 years ago. I was using personal credit before I understood business credit. That's just one option. If you guys need, if you need it, if that's something that you need, get in there, get it, take advantage of it. Because normally, I mean, I know people out there that are charging hundreds of dollars a month, $1,000 package, a couple $1,000s of packages to do credit repair, um, free for anybody that goes through us. And it's because, you know, that working business relationship. Ultimately, the goal is to help get you through this process. It's just a small stepping stone. So yeah, no, it's totally not needed. There's 3 different levels. There's, if you need to get in there and start, yeah, just go over there. It's easy to understand, and give us some feedback. Starting there, Richie has some really good videos that kind of explain the process, where you're going to go through, how you're going to go through there. And oh, we do have Richie on the line here too. How you doing, Richie? Richie, you just missed a fantastic training about, we were just filling in some other things about personal credit. We talked a little bit about debt to income ratio and talked about cash flow and how we've been doing that on Monday nights. So yeah, Raul, yeah, just go over there. Lorraine. Pablo. Okay, so Lorraine asked a question. Lorraine, are you still on here? Let's see here. Lorraine has a question. Lorraine. Lorraine, I don't have anybody in my family, Pablo, but I do have a brother named Carlos. Yes, Carlos Fleming. And Lorraine, it looks like your last name is Fleming. I don't know. We may be related. That's possibility. I don't know. We should find out. Maybe we're long lost cousins or something. I don't know. Let's see here. Perfect. Yeah. Yeah, I'm not sure, Lorraine. That's a great question though. I know I have a bunch of cousins out there, but your guess is as good as mine. Oh, and I just realized you guys can't even see my camera. And that's okay. And I'm not even sure. Maybe see, Richie, is he there? He may be there. Maybe he'll pop on and say hi. You know, Richie has a brand new baby, so we give him a little bit of grace. It's I think their baby's like 3 weeks old now. Pretty amazing. Oh yeah, he just got out of traffic. No. Richie, you are all good, my man. But I was telling everybody, make sure you tune in next week. Richie's got a jam-packed training for us. We're going to be hitting it hard with some really awesome stuff. So everybody, thank you once again for being here. Go over to levelupinreallife.com, check it out, or make sure you check out the Twitch channel too, twitch.tv. Go to Level Up in Real Life Twitch channel and watch some experienced investors play a simulated version of investing in real life. Because I'll tell you, lose the money there before you lose it in real life. And I've lost a lot of money in the board game, and I believe that's the reason we haven't lost any in real life. So be safe. Holiday time is upon us. Make sure you love your friends. Everybody's going through a little bit of a stressful time. It always happens every holiday season, but be kind and share the knowledge. So if you found value in this, tell your friends. We will see you all next